Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to the Ask Dr. Be Good show, where we bring you all the really these days fascinating things about practice, pedagogy, and the politics of public education. We have lots going on today, but let's see. I want to be able to share to other groups, so let me take a second to do that because we are. We're bringing information that so many people, frankly, don't even know that they need, okay? That's the interesting part about public education is that people think they know about public education. People have lots of opinions about public education, but really the education information that many people have is oftentimes based on the fact that they went to school and that their kids maybe go to school, and not necessarily based on what's actually happening in public education today. Because we really haven't had how can I say this? We haven't had somebody who is gone on into their social media and been loud about that. I've become a little bit loud about the need for people to know about public education and what's going on. And I started this before COVID. I've been podcasting for a couple of years now in a different area, and really advocating and building advocacy for public education after especially what happened in 2011, where the budgets were cut all over the nation because of the recession. And we were just recovering from that, if you'll remember, and then COVID hit. So the big question on the table for this couple of weeks is, should I send my child to school or should I keep my child home? And to be able to make that decision, I put together an article. I just published it to LinkedIn, but I thought I would bring you information that you need to know whether you actually have all the decision that you need, all the information that you need to make that decision. So let's gather the questions needed to start gathering information enough to know whether you should do one or the other, in school or in home. So first question is your family healthy? Do you run a healthy family? Do you have healthy eating habits? You limit fast foods, you limit processed foods, you have pretty much a clean whole food diet going on for you and the kids. That's really important because there's three things that we now know equals good health. One is good eating, clean eating. One is exercise. And the other one is managing stress. Now, nobody can keep a stress-free environment because life happens. Recently, my father got COVID, my 84-year-old father. He's now recovered from that. No, he was asymptomatic, if you can believe that. And but now we've got some other health issues with him, and so we're gathering as a family and we're managing that. So it's how you manage the stress that leads to healthy immune systems. We've been hearing a lot about immune systems, right? We've been hearing about how people with compromised immune systems should really shelter in place, limit their trips outside and so forth. And so a lot of people are asking, well, how do I get my my immune system to be healthier? And so again, eating clean, whole foods, limit meat, limit processed foods, limit fast foods, limit sugar. Exercise. Are you a family that plays together outside, walks together outside, has soccer or baseball in your life? swimming, all of those things, and then managing stress. So that's the number one question. Is your family healthy? Healthy families equal healthy immune systems. And the second question is, are there elderly or disabled folks that live in the home? So if you are really a lucky family that gets to have your mother, your father, your husband, your spouses living with you, because research is out there that kids who have close access to their grandparents, the grandparents live longer, and the kids benefit from that, from having their grandparents close. But again, having elderly people in the home who are more apt to be susceptible to germs is a factor in the decision making. So if you have elderly or disabled with compromised immune systems that live in your home, that's something you have to take into consideration as far as, do we let the kids go to school? Another question: has each family member committed to doing the now well-known germ safety practices such as frequent hand washing, mask wearing, and social distancing? We all pretty much know we have to do those big three now, right? But we do have people out there who resent having to do that. They resent having to wear a mask. They resent having to distance, and they probably aren't washing their hands as much as we want them to, right? So so that is something that we have to take into consideration. If we have members of our family who we can't get them to buy into the mask wearing, washing hands frequently, social distancing, and just being smart, using common sense, then that's important, because that person could bring in the germ in the home. So next question: has your child's school communicated its school reopening plan to you? Some of you have heard me talk about this. Every school has to have a school reopening plan, and they should be communicating it to all the school stakeholders. It's seen by the school board or by even the teachers and the staff that go to school. That's something that needs to be shared with all school stakeholders, and parents, you are school stakeholders. The plan should communicate not only the safety protocols, there's sort of two levels: the safety protocols around how are they keeping the buildings get there, what will they be focusing in on as far as the misting machines. Most schools now have misting machines. Are they going to use the day? Where are they going to use them? Are high used areas like restrooms, doorway areas, are they going to be misted several times a day? How will the kids be socially distanced? How will the kids be kept separated? And what happens when one of the kids in a cohort, and will there be cohorts, first of all, will the kids be kept in cohort groups so that there is only one adult or so that interacts mainly with one group of kids? And what happens when somebody in that cohort, whether it's the adult or the kids, whether they are sent home, will they be sent home for 14 days, and so forth? So we have the ability in schools, if the schools plan correctly, to limit the amount of kids who have to be home for 14 days if there's a person in their group who either they COVID or somebody in their family gets COVID. instead of having to close the whole school down. So that's part of the school implementation plan practices that you should be asking about. Also, is the school even communicating with you on a regular enough basis so that you feel comfortable with what they're saying they're going to do? Communication is huge in this. And if your school is not communicating with you, you need to communicate with them and ask them about what's going on. So I'm making parents and I'm asking parents to be as responsible in keeping kids safe at school as the staff at school. This is something that not only one side can do alone. It takes both sides, parents and school, to be able to have a chance at keeping the majority of kids and staff germ-free. So, and one of the things I talk about in the article is there's one thing that you really can't ask us to do, parents, and that is we cannot guarantee that your child, any child, staff members won't get COVID at our school. We can't guarantee that. What we can guarantee for those schools that are taking this very seriously, and those schools that have included you in the communication loop, we can guarantee that a minimal amount of people will get COVID. So I hope that, because we get parents who ask us that. Will you guarantee that my child will not get COVID? No, but I can't guarantee that your child won't break his elbow in the playground or get a bloody knee when he trips and falls. Those are things that we try to limit by using safety protocols. Even before COVID, we had those: no running in the hallway, no running outside, be careful, that's not safe. All of those things to try to keep kids safe, despite themselves sometimes, because kids will be kids, but really making sure that we do everything we can to limit the exposure is our work. So let me see if we have any comments. Okay. Thank you for those that are on. I was lucky enough to find this week is a parent and a student who actually started in school. And so we're going to, in a couple of minutes, they're getting ready to come on. We're going to have Jessica Perky and Riley Ogle, her daughter, come on. Do you have any comments? Okay. There you go. And Riley and Jessica had to play. They live in Georgia, Warner Robins, and I'm seeing that they're not hearing. Okay, let's see. All right, magic producers, our guests are not hearing us. Oh, there it is. I hear you. Okay. All right, Jessica, we can hear you. All right. So, welcome, Jessica Perky, Riley Ogle. Let's see, maybe if you turn your phone the other way, we can see you. Hey, Riley Ogle. Okay. Let's see, maybe if you turn your phone the other way, we can see you. There you go. Now we can see both of you. Okay.
Can you use the computer?
We can hear you. Yes, we can hear you.
Hold the phone.
Let's see. All right. So now we can see both of you.
We can't hear.
Okay. All right. You know what? I'm just going to call.
Here, let's
We can hear you. Yes, we can hear you.
turn this off. Not working.
Hey, you know what? Just turn it off and we'll do a conference. We did get to see you. We know that you're real. Go ahead and turn that off. All right. I'm going to have you come on through the conference. At least we got to see you guys for a minute. And let me make sure my volume is up. So you live where? Where do you live?
Warner Robins, Georgia.
And what happened this week in Warner Robins, Georgia?
Our children went back to school.
What factors did you take into consideration before sending your actually two daughters, Riley and Olivia, to school?
Quite a bit, actually. We were a little nervous talking about sending them back to school. We were actually hoping the district would wait until after Labor Day to send the kids back. We really thought it was a little soon. However, number one, we're ready to get them back to a normal daily routine and get back to some type of normalcy in our house. And number two, with watching how Riley did remote learning at the end of last year versus how she did in school, we've noticed that she did learn better in school with the teacher in front of her who she can ask questions to that maybe mom couldn't answer. And as far as my kindergartner, Olivia, she was part of the Child Find program because she has a little bit of a speech delay. So I was really worried that switching from in-school to remote learning that she would lose a lot of what she had progressed over the last year, because in school she had two teachers, only 10 kids in the class. She had a lot of one-on-one with her speech therapist. And with the remote learning, she only got to speak with her teacher twice a week for maybe 15 minutes.
Yeah, that's a big difference.
It's a very big difference. So we were really worried that she would lose a lot of what she has gained so far, and she has come a very long way, and I did not want that to happen.
Sure, of course not. Did the school communicate plans to you before it opened?
They did, actually. We got several emails, phone calls, voicemails about what they were planning on doing. Following CDC guidelines, they have put stickers throughout the school on the floor for social distancing. Everybody who enters the school must wear a mask, students obviously included. Parents are not allowed in the school buildings other than going into the front office if they need to. However, only a few parents at a time are allowed in the office because it's a small space and you have to social distance. So they've made sure that they called all the parents. I think I probably got 4 or 5 phone calls in 2 weeks leading up to school starting.
So that's good that the school did that. I mean, I'm sure that helped with your decision. What is your routine? What was your routine last week? I think Thursday was your first day of school. And talk to me about what was the routine the night before your first day of school and then that morning?
So the night before, even a few days before, we started having the girls wear their masks during the day for an hour, 2 hours at a time, which they actually, for whatever reason, enjoyed. And for my kindergartner, normally mommy would walk her to her classroom on the first day, and unfortunately that's not something I was able to do. So I would have conversations with her, letting her know almost every day that mommy can't walk her to class, that she will get out of the car. A teacher will help her get out, take her to get breakfast, and walk her to her classroom. So by the time Thursday came around, she knew that's what was going to happen. She even explained to me, Mommy, I'm going to get out of the car. The teacher's going to help me get breakfast, and then she's going to take me to class. Yes, Olivia, that's exactly what's going to happen.
And you shared a video with me on that, and actually, I saw her getting out of the car. I saw her being greeted by name by the adults there wearing masks, and other adults were calling her name. So she looked gleeful when she got out of the car. She didn't look worried at all.
No, she was very excited. Very excited. And I think it helped seeing her preschool teacher, so she saw some familiar faces.
Sure. Well, that's a success story. So they got out of the car wearing masks, and then what happened when you picked them up from school?
Yeah, and let me also add something else to Olivia, because she's so little. Riley started 5th grade. She knows her way around school. Olivia does not. So one thing the school did for the little ones is give them a lanyard that they wear around their neck with their name and homeroom teacher. So if there's a teacher or an adult at the school that doesn't know them, they know exactly where they're supposed to be. So I really like that the school did that for the little kids, because that was my main concern for her.
Mm-hmm. You know, talked also about the fact that lanyards can be used to clip the face mask to, so that they don't get lost.
Yes, we also have done that.
Good. Well, good. So what happened when you went to pick them up from school?
So they got in the car. I have stocked up on hand sanitizer that I keep in my truck. So as soon as they get in, they sanitize up. As soon as we get home, they walk through the door, go straight to the laundry room, strip down, and put their clothes in the washing machine. They change their clothes and wash their hands before doing anything else.
And after 2 days, is because they went to school Thursday and Friday, is that pretty routine? You consider the kids comfortable with that?
I think so. I think as, the more they do it, I think it'll become more a part of their normal routine where they won't have to think about it. I think, I'm still having to tell them, go change, go wash your hands. But the more they do it, I think it'll become more of their normal routine to where I probably won't have to tell them 20 times to do it.
Well, it sounds like you had a good start. Let's talk to Riley.
Hi.
Good morning. Thanks for being up early with us, although I think you all are an hour ahead, right? So it wasn't quite as early as over here. So Riley, did you want to go back to school?
Yes, I did.
Why?
Because obviously I was tired of the little ones, and it's just I wanted to see my friends, and I wanted to see people and be around people more, because I haven't been able to do that all summer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What grade are you in?
5th.
5th grade. And can you tell us a little bit about your first day? You got out of the car, and then what happened?
We went to, got out of the car, went to breakfast, but usually during breakfast time, they would, you would have to eat in the cafeteria, but they're not letting you do that. So they had bags with food in them that you can take to your classroom. So I did that, and when we got in our classroom, we still had a social distance in our classroom. All the desks were spread out everywhere. We had to wear masks all day in class. The only time we could take off our mask was when we were eating or drinking water.
Were you allowed to drink from the water fountains?
No, all the water fountains in the school were all turned off. So we have to bring our own water bottle, and if you forget to bring it, teachers will hand out water bottles because you're not allowed to drink from the water fountain.
Okay. And how did it feel wearing a mask all day?
it wasn't the most comfortable thing, but I mean, it's better than getting the virus.
Okay.
I mean, it just felt weird doing it, but
How many of your friends went back?
most of them did.
How many kids were in your class?
Including me, 14.
14.
Usually it's like 20 something or 30.
22 is 25, usually in elementary. And how was your learning? Did you have textbooks, or what did you actually do? Was it like regular school?
Yes, it was. We just did the normal routine that we would usually do, even without the mask. Pretty normal, but not.
When you were learning at home last year, you were learning through a computer. Did they have any computers in school when you went last week?
They've had 2 computers, but they were social distanced out because usually there's like 5 or 6 computers in the classroom, but there was only 2 in social distancing.
Okay. So I guess what I'm hearing is that you went back to regular school, because a lot of schools, what they're doing is they're having kids come in if the families want them to, but then they're on the computers at the school doing remote instruction, but at school. So I was curious to see if you actually had some real instruction as far as the teacher giving instruction and you all, the kids having to respond and write things on paper. Did you actually have to write down things on paper?
For like fun activity work, like we got some morning work to do, just to let the teacher know about us, but that's pretty much it. And we just went over a lot of those rules. So it wasn't really much writing down the first couple of days.
Well, that's true. Usually the first couple of days of school, you're going over rules and team building activities and such like that. So, okay. Well, thank you very much, ladies. I really appreciate you coming on and letting us know what in school feels like in today's world. So we thank you, and Riley, have a great school year.
Thank you.
There. And let me do a station identification. Let me take a break. You're watching the Ask Dr. Be Good on the JP Kathy and the Crew Network station on Thursdays at noon, and tune in to Everything Criminal Law with Jeremy Rosenthal from 12 to 1. And so let me just plug JP Kathy and the Crew Network a little bit here. This is a new network that is actively looking for shows. If you have a show idea, you can contact JP Kathy and the Crew. And if you have trouble doing that, contact me, and I'll be happy to hook you up. This way of communicating is the new norm. We had been in the radio business, and that is still good if you're in the car, but how many of us have really stopped driving as much? And so podcasting is the ability to bring you information live or not live at your convenience. So thank you for being here, and thank you for joining us in the Ask Dr. Be Good show. The next thing I want to talk about is, let me see. I didn't go and check to see if we have questions about our previous segment. So thank you for those of you on. We try to answer questions live as they come in. So if you have one, let us see it. Things that will be different in school besides COVID-induced practices is understanding how to look at our curriculum and make sure that it's telling the whole picture. We need to, as parents, and as educators have different eyes on the curriculum that our kids are receiving. Our schools tend to be filled with kids from, from all over, not only all over the nation, but all over the world. I know some of my schools have kids from Africa, Asia, just everywhere. And oftentimes we, as teachers, take our curriculum and we tell one part of the story. And that oftentimes is a European-centric, male-centric side of the story. And so I'm challenging parents and educators to be more, what would the word be? To be more open to looking at the materials that either as educators you're bringing to students or as parents you're seeing come in from the schools or you're bringing to kids through reading books, to make sure that they are more than male-centered, European-centered. So what do I mean by that? Well, as educators, for example, what's happening in our district is we will ask and train teachers to look at their materials and say, is there a female story piece here? Is there a Black story piece here? Is there a Latino story piece here? Do I need to bring it and have the kids research what was happening to other ethnic groups during that time? It's especially easy during social studies, right? But ELA teachers, science teachers, math teachers, you all have a responsibility to look at your materials and say, am I giving a balanced view of my content area to my students? One of the things that we've asked math teachers to do, for example, is to have a project at the beginning of the year that would encourage kids to research mathematicians from their culture. So if a child is African American, they can research African American mathematicians. They can research African mathematicians. And if kids are from Vietnam, if kids are from England, kids are from France, I've done that. I've Googled those different cultural areas and math and science. And I have found, and you can find mathematicians spanning the ages. And so encouraging kids to research and present on their cultural mathematician to the class is very empowering for them to know that somebody from their ethnic culture had such a big piece in a science history, a math history, and so forth. But the second thing that a teacher is able to do with that is refer back to that cultural mathematician when that subject comes up later in the year. And so wouldn't it be cool if we're studying a certain math concept and the teacher says, and you all remember the presentation that Jamil did on his ancestor or his mathematician from his culture. And so what we're doing is we're continuing to empower these kids and feeling good that that somebody from their culture did something so important that it's taught every year in math and in science and so forth. So parents, what can you do if you're not a teacher and you're not able to do that? You could still do that kind of project. You can still have the opportunity to say, let's research famous mathematicians or famous scientists from our culture and see what impact they had on our world. And so not always just leaving it into the hands of teachers who may or may not be as good at that as what you need for them to be yet, and have them do that. Have you do that for your kids. That could be very, very empowering. Um, and if you want to know more about how to do things like that, please let me know. You know, I'm Ask Dr. Be Good. Just ask. And I'm happy to round out any unknowns that would keep you from doing that with your child. One of the huge things that I just really try to have parents do is to communicate on a frequent basis with their kids, so that when kids reach their teen years, those teen years where they want to be left alone, but because you have built up a talking communication relationship with them, they may not be as reticent to parents. I'm about empowering you, because we no longer can leave all of your child's education in the hands of the schools. The schools are doing their very best, especially right now, but still, you knowing that some of this is not only up to you, but also can lead to a better relationship with your child on top of that. So I've talked about math and science and so forth. How about reading? Are you making sure that when you have your child read, and I hope they are, that the books that they're reading are about also people from other cultures, from things that are happening in other parts of the world? You have kids have the opportunity to read beyond their world. If they're not doing it, it's on you, parents. Okay, try to make it interesting. And I just thought of another project. Parents, have you thought to do a virtual trip with your kids? Maybe you're not comfortable leaving, and many people are not comfortable leaving. The tourist industry is way down. And do a virtual trip where the kids research a place to go or a couple of places to go. They figure out how much it's going to cost. They figure out how many miles it is, what they would do there. You give them a budget for it, and this racial divide that we have, and some view it negatively, but really I'm seeing such positive result from the unrest. And some of the positives that I see are that we have people talking about racial divide. We have people who have acknowledged that they can't just do hashtag something and think they're done. We have people who are looking at ways to say, what can we do different this time? How can we make sure we don't fall back to the default of not seeing information to parents and educators on how to help you talk to your kids about what's happening. And so I saw an article here about talking to kids about racial stereotypes. And I know we've talked about it in the past. We're going to continue talking about it, but making sure that you are constantly aware of what your kids are watching on TV, on their devices, and then commenting on it when necessary. When you see what seems to be a racial stereotype, are you saying something? Are you making it a discussion point? It doesn't have to know your thoughts around this, because over time, what should happen is kids say, I know, Mom, I know. And then you start later hearing stories about how they were an ally for somebody at school. Or you maybe hear from another parent how your child was an ally for their child at school or in another setting. So it's that modeling at home that we're looking for, and that over time your kids will pick up. One of the things that I've heard my daughter say to me is, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. I sound just like you when I talk to my kids now. And I hated it when you did it to me. And that's sort of, that's the payoff, right? That's the parent payoff, is knowing that what we did as parents to our younger ones was so good that our kids are now using it on their own kids. So, all right, let's see. Are you helping kids look at commercials with new eyes? Many of our commercials are changing. I don't know. My students, let's see, that's probably the wrong way of saying it. There's people from different ethnicities as a couple. You see dads with dads, moms with moms. You're just seeing a very diverse representation of our world. Have you chatted with your child about those commercials? I think it would be an excellent conversation point to show how society is responding to what many of our diverse people have said is missing. Sometimes you also need to just listen. Listen to your kids when they're talking with other kids, talking to each other, the what are they not saying? Sometimes, are our kids speaking about other kids, especially kids of other ethnicities, in a way that lacks empathy? Those are all signs of the work that we as parents have to do to continue to help our kids be comfortable and embrace people from other cultures. All right, let's see. And I'd be curious, we have been talking about, for example, what white children need to know about race. We did that months ago. Have you had a chance to talk to your kids about race? What are kids, how's your comfort level around this? Are you more comfortable being uncomfortable? I'd be curious to know. And write it in the comments. I'd be next time we talk about race and talking to kids about racial stereotypes and talking to white parents talking to white kids about race, let me know. I'd love to be able to do a call-in show, and if I can get enough of you comfortable to call in and talk about how have you grown over the last 2 or 3 months since all the racial unrest started. I think that we may be ready for that. We are the Ask Dr. Be Good show. We bring you the politics, the practice, and the pedagogy around public education. And we do that because say, as you've heard me say over and over, and will again until I build my little army of public school advocates in time for the next legislative session, and that is, if we don't get a strong, if we don't graduate kids strong in college and career practice, our future economy is going to be in trouble. And so it is all of our jobs to help our legislators prioritize around the funding of public education so that our workforce is protected. And so I'm needing your help with that. I'm needing kids get the education they deserve so that we can have a stronger economy down the road. All right, everyone. I'm going to sign off now, and I'll see you next week. Thank you.